Welcome back to Wave of Dalker. This video is episode 3 of my stuff, and today we're tackling what used to be there, but is now stacked up almost as tall as me, my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure manga. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is definitely my favorite, probably series of all time. I love it. I started watching it in 2018, and I'm still, I caught up in late 2021, I think. And I've been reading, the monthly releases since then, but it's awesome. Actually, no, I caught up early 2021. No, summer, whatever. It doesn't matter, but I love it. Definitely my favorite series of all time. It is amazing. I recommend you all to check it out. But I'm going to go through, all my hardcover versions of it. And I might, touch on the art book over there later, but we're just going to go through the manga now. And, just talk about each part and just, talk about what this series means to me because it's pretty cool. And these hardcovers are pretty sweet as well. So like and subscribe. Let's get into it. So first up, the first part, this might fall, is Phantom Blood. It is 3 hardcover issues. One with the cover of Jonathan Joestar, the protagonist. It follows Jonathan Joestar in 1890s England. It's very, gothic, and, his stepbrother Dio. It's a whole thing, but, he has a feud with Dio. Dio's a vampire. They fight, blah, 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 blah. And then, they fight. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to get too in-depth in the explanation, but it's really good. A lot of people hate on it, but, you got Zeppeli there, William Zeppeli, and then Dio on the 3rd issue. But it's really good. A lot of people don't like it just because, the anime is only 9 episodes of it. It's the shortest part. It's the first part, but it sets a good groundwork. I think it actually is a really fantastic story, and it's very simple shonen. It's, strong-minded, just powerful and intelligent and wise and kind protagonist Jonathan Joestar going up against almost irredeemable evil, who is Dio Brando. It's just, I don't know, it's really well told. And I understand that people, kind of don't like it just because, it's kind of a slog at points. But I think it's really fantastic, and I think it really does set up. It's a good first part, and it's kind of funny looking back on it when you get to eventually, part 6 and part 7, where it's, the things are just kind of changing. It's a lot different. But I think Phantom Blood is really fantastic, and you should check it out. And these hardcovers are just so cool. They're just such high quality. The print is just fantastic. I want these to live with. I want to give these to my grandkids, man. Just look at the glossy print. It's just beautiful. Phantom Blood, the first part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Next up, one of my favorite all-time parts, probably my 2nd or 3rd favorite part, Part 2, Battle Tendency. This follows the grandson of Jonathan Joestar, Joseph Joestar. Let's look at that quality. These are red. Each part has a different color surrounding it. This is red, probably because of the red stone of Asia, I guess, which is right there. Yeah, this follows the grandson of Jonathan Joestar, Joseph Joestar. You got Santana on the back. In 1920s England, and then America, and then Italy. Or no. America, and then Italy. And then just Europe in general. You go to Switzerland. It's a whole bunch of things. But this is a fantastic part. I think the story is really cool. We got Lisa on the back. We got AC/DC. Caesar, one of my all-time favorite characters. And then Wamu on the back. And then Cars. And Joseph again. This part's fantastic. Once again, I don't want to spoil anything, but it follows Joseph Joestar living with his grandfather's legacy, fighting the Pillar Men, who are the originators of the power that was revealed in Part 1, Hamon, which is the power of the sun used to defeat vampires. They were the originators, the original vampires, and they were the creators of the Stone Mask, which turned Dio into a vampire in the first part. I think it's just really well told. It's around 15 episodes in the anime. As you can see, it's 4 volumes, with the 4th being the thickest. I just think it's really good. I think Joseph Joestar is one of my favorite JoJos, probably maybe my 2nd favorite JoJo. There's 9 in total at this point, but he's definitely my 2nd favorite. He's just funny. He's very different in terms of his relation to his grandfather. Jonathan Joestar, like I said, he's a very, he's a leader. He's kind. He's strong-willed. And Joseph is all those things, but he's also a goofball, kind of a, a ladies' man. But I think he still has those, powerful leadership skills. He still is, I'd argue that he's probably stronger than Jonathan Joestar, just with the advanced training that he received from Lisa. And, being able to be in cahoots and battle alongside Caesar, who was also, a trained Hamon master and the grandson of William Zeppeli in the first part. It's really good, and it's a good wrap-up to the Hamon saga as we jump to Part 3, which I'll talk about now, where we jump into a new power system, which I think is one of the best power systems in all of manga, anime, anything. It's super dope. But yeah, part 2, Battle Tendency, fantastic. This wraps up the first season of the anime, and I love it. I love Battle Tendency. I love Joseph Joestar. That's my GOAT right there, or my second GOAT, whatever. Next up, part 3, Stardust Crusaders. This has the most hardcovers. Its theme is blue. Jesus. This follows the grandson of Joseph Joestar, Jotaro Kujo. He is a Japanese man. There he is, Jotaro Kujo. Super cool. He's themed after Clint Eastwood. There's his stand, Stardust Crusaders. So stands are the power system introduced in this part. And it is basically the embodiment of your fighting spirit. And it's called a stand because it is a apparition that appears behind you. Like if my stand was like Snorlax, it'd be like a big Snorlax that's like kind of like faint. And non-stand users can't see it, which I think is really cool. But his stand, Star Platinum, I almost forgot it, Jesus, is one of the most powerful stands in the entire series. And you'll see later, once you read this part, I don't want to spoil anything again. He just gains an additional ability towards the end, which just makes him one of the strongest. And it matches Jotaro Kujo, who, like his grandfather and his great-great-grandfather, is very strong-minded, very powerful, just a very intense presence about him. But he is still, they look to him for leadership in the group. And I'll get to, the other group members. But Stardust Crusaders, it follows. Dio is back after, reportedly dying in part 1 after being beheaded by Jonathan Joestar. I'm just spoiling at this point, but who cares? But Dio is back, and he has taken over Jonathan Joestar's body. So it's Dio's head on Jonathan Joestar's body, and that is allowed him to revive himself since he has that vampiric blood. He's able to, take the body for himself. And then through that, he gains a stand, which, since it's his vampiric blood that reacts with the birthmark, which, goes across all, I didn't even talk about the birthmark yet, but all Joestars have a birthmark. Jonathan has a birthmark. Joseph, Jotaro, and all the JOJOs in the future have a star birthmark on their shoulder. And, with the bond of that blood, they all gain a stand at the same time. And Jotaro's is Star Platinum. And then we get to Joseph Joestar, who is a very prevalent character in this part. His stand, Hermit Purple, which just kind of like, it goes on cameras and it goes on TVs, and it gives you, it's like kind of like a prophet kind of thing, where like it shows you, like one of the first episodes, I think in the first episode, he goes to a Polaroid camera and he's able to snap a photo of Dio in Egypt with his back to the camera, revealing that he has taken over the body of Jonathan Joestar. And yeah, so that's Joseph. He has a stand now. His stand is probably one of the weakest stands in the entire series because it's not really an attack stand per se. He does utilize it, he's able to like, what's the word? He's able to just like send Hamon through it, and he's able to, play with that a little bit, so that's pretty cool. We get the whole horse, who's not even he's not even part of, the Crusaders. I don't even know why he has a third cover, but he's one of my favorite characters in this series, just a cowboy with his stand Emperor, which is just a gun that can like bounce off things, and like I can change the trajectory of the bullet, which is pretty neat. And there's Hangman, I believe, who's able to like go through mirrors. It's really cool. So they go from Japan, and then like, oh no, Jotaro's mother, Holly Joestar, the daughter of Joseph, is like, oh no, you're sick because, the stand is too powerful for you. Your body can't endure the pain that a stand puts, a weak user in. Like most stand users are generally these strong-willed people, but Holly Joestar is just, a housewife, so you can't really handle the power of the stand. So it's like, all right, she's sick. We have to go kill Dio. So they go from Japan. They initially attempt to fly, but then they're thwarted, which is, pretty cool. It allows them to be like, all right, well, this isn't going to be easy. We have to fly. We can't fly to Egypt. We got to go through all these parts. So they go through all of Asia, through like Saudi Arabia, down into Egypt. It's just a really cool journey. The anime of it, I think, is paced pretty poorly, but after reading it, I think it really climbed the rankings for me, or I began to like it a lot more than I did, because anime is paced very poorly, and it just kind of feels like the enemy of the day in each episode. It's like, all right, this episode we're fighting whole horse and centerfold. This episode, blah 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 blah, doing all that nonsense. But the manga, I think, is paced a lot better, and I tend to like the manga more than the anime in most series. But yeah, I think Stardust Crusaders is fantastic. Here we got Enyaba, who is the mother of the user of this stand. This stand. And then we have her stand Justice, which is pretty cool. Like it's a really good part. Here's Kakyoin, one of the other members of the Stardust Crusaders, and his stand. Hierophant Green. I just blanked. I was thinking Emerald, but his attack is Emerald Splash. Next up, we have, oh my god. Why am I blanking on all these names? I haven't read this. Okay, Abdul. Jesus. I've been in high Q mode right now. Abdul, his stand, Magician's Red. One of Joseph's good friends. He's a master of stands. He understands them really well. Here's Darby Elder and his stand, Osiris. It's just really cool. Like, they go through all these little towns and all these little cities, and they find someone who's employed by Dio to stop them. Here's Iggy, the final member, or no, the final member, okay. The final member of the Crusaders who they encounter when they reach Egypt, in his stand, the Fool. And all the stands are either named after Egyptian gods or tarot cards in this part. And then they in future parts, they expand upon it. Here's Polnareff, who is the 4th member of the group, and his stand, Silver Chariot. He's really cool. He might be my favorite member of the Crusaders. I think he's a really neat character. Swordsman, Frenchman. He's really cool. And this is the thickest volume. I know, I think the last one's the thickest. This is just a good part. It is the longest animated part, I think, so far, with the most episodes. I think it has like 40 episodes, with Golden Wind, I think, being the second most. I don't know, I might be mistaken. But there's Dio in Jonathan's body, and his stand, The World, which is pretty cool. Stops time. Pretty neat. But yeah, I don't want to get too in-depth. I already spent like 5 minutes on this part already. But yeah, Stardust Crusaders is really fantastic. And these hardcovers, these hardcovers are awesome. Like, they are $20 each, and I have bought all the ones that are in circulation at this point, but they're worth it, because I love this series, and I love owning manga. But yeah, that's part 3, Stardust Crusaders. Next up, part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. This is one of my favorite parts. This might be my 4th favorite part, I think, 3rd favorite part, somewhere up there. Boom. This follows the son of JoJo Joestar, who is, I guess he's technically a bastard, because Joseph wasn't married to Tomoko. That's her name, right? Tomoko Higashikata, who's a Japanese woman that Joseph had a baby with. He cheated on Suzy Q, his wife. But yeah, that's the protagonist. So these covers are a little different. They don't follow. They're like formatted differently, and they don't have. These are like chapter covers and volume covers. But there's Josuke Higashikata, the main character of this, the son of Joseph Joestar, and I guess the uncle of Jotaro Joestar. And Jotaro appears in this part again, and then he will appear in part 5 and part 6 again. He just becomes kind of like the mainstay in the final few parts in the main universe. Yeah, there's Josuke, and there's his friend Koichi Hirose. So this is follows. It's a lot more slice of life than the other parts. They are in Morio in Japan, and they find out that there is a serial killer living amongst them in the quiet, peaceful life of Morio. It's very slice of life in that the main character Josuke and his friend Okiyasu, who I'll get into in these other chapter covers, they're just hanging around. They're just high schoolers, and like there's the arrow, it's made to be, if you are stabbed by the arrow, you gain a stand or die, and that happens to Koichi. That happens to most of the enemies they actually encounter. Like a lot of the enemies that they encounter through this part, because what ends up happening is the serial killer, Yoshikage Kira, and I'll get into him later, his father obtains the arrow and he starts just stabbing people with it, being like, all right, you either stand or you die. So most of the enemies, and I'll get moving through these soon, they gain stands and they start to stop the main characters from finding Yoshikage Kira, who is the serial killer. So yeah, there's Josuke, Koichi, Okiyasu, Nijimura. One of my favorite characters in the main universe. I think he's super cool. I think his stand, the hand, is super dope. And these covers are cool because, like I said, they're formatted differently. They don't have, this like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and then the one character and the one character. Just shows some of the cool chapter and volume covers. Okiyasu, Josuke, Koichi, Jotaro. And then there's the main gang. And then there's old Joseph. And there's Akira, who has the stand Red Hot Chili Pepper. And that's Jotaro again. He has a dolphin on his head. He's like a marine biologist right now. This part's cool because it's a lot more chill than other parts. Like, part 1 is like, oh, Dio's a vampire. I gotta train to fight him, and then I'll fight him and his vampire enemies. Part 2 is like, oh my gosh, these like ancient vampires are back to life, and I have to stop them from, killing all human life. Part 3, oh, Dio's back. I gotta go find him to kill him to save my mother. But this is more like, there's a serial killer, and we gotta, creep. It's a lot more mystery. There's a scene in this where the killer is like, Yoshikage Kira is like on his last legs, but then he goes into this the salon, which is run by a stand user who like she has a stand in Cinderella, which can like change people's faces and bodies. He goes in there and changes his face and body. It looks like somebody completely different, and that's super cool. It's a really intense scene in the anime because like they go in there like, oh, we're so close. Like the sheer heart attack is so close, which is one of his powers. Like we're so close to finding him, and then he goes in there and he comes out and he's part of the fray of civilization again. They're like, oh my gosh, we have to start completely from scratch and find him again, which I think is super cool. That allowed us to extend the part. I think Araki did a really good job with that. Introducing this character, the Cinderella user, and then being like, oh well, she just kind of helped. What's her name? Yamagishi, whatever. Koichi's girlfriend. He like helped her. It was like, oh okay, and that's just an interesting kind of throwaway character. But now she comes back to life, or comes back into the fray, and like, oh, she actually was threatened by Kira, and now he's a completely different person. I'm rambling right now, but yeah, there's the whole gang. There's Rohan, Kishibe, manga artist. There he is again. He's definitely Araki's self-insert with his stand Heaven's Door, which is pretty powerful. Once again, I don't want to spoil anything. Here we go. Here's a lot of the stands. So there's Josuke. There's Echoes. I think that's part 2, or Echoes, whatever. Act 2. There's Harvest. There's Killer Queen, the stand of Yoshikage Kira. There's Crazy Diamond, the stand of Josuke. Star Platinum. And the hand of Kiyasu's stand. And there's Yoshikage Kira, modeled after David Bowie. Or inspired by David Bowie, not really modeled after him, but he is the main villain with his stand Killer Queen. And has like a subset stand, Sheer Heart Attack. So Killer Queen, if you touch someone, it turns into a bomb. And Sheer Heart Attack goes towards the hottest thing. It's like a heat-seeking missile. So it's essentially the same thing, where if it goes after someone, if it goes after a human, humans are hot, it'll blow you up. It's a really cool part. Probably my 4th favorite overall, behind part 8, part 2, and part 7. It's really fantastic. It's held in a pretty high regard and kind of viewed as one of the best parts. Here's Manish Boy and his stand Boy to Man. Him and Rohan have a pretty funny series of chapters where they're fighting, because his stand... Well, I'll let you watch it, or I'll let you think back to it. This is a pretty cool chapter cover with the whole gang. Yeah, I think her name is Yamaguchi? Yeah, no, Yamaguchi's from Haikyuu. I don't know. Josuke again. This is really cool. It's cool to see all the volume covers. I like the look of these more. Here's a fun one. It's Josuke and Crazy Diamond. And on the back, it's Rohan, Josuke, and Crazy Diamond. These are thick, though. These are thicker. There's less of these. There's only 9 of these compared to Stardust Crusaders 10, but they're thick. There's the final one with Josuke and changed appearance Yoshikage Kira. There's Hayato and Yoshikage Kira. This part's really good. The final sequence is one of the best, I think, in all of JoJo's. It's really fantastic. Check it out. We have one more part, or like 1.5 more parts to go, but I just keep rambling. I'm like telling you the story of it while also just going through the chapter covers, but whatever. This is my video. Next up, this one just wrapped up in the serialization, or the release of the hardcovers. Part 5, Golden Wind. So Golden Wind follows the son of Dio in Jonathan's body. He had a son, Mr. Jonah Giovanna. There's Josuke, there's JOJO. Even though Josuke doesn't really show up in this part at all, there's Crazy Diamond, Star Platinum, and there's Jono's stand, Gold Experience. Jonah Giovanna. I didn't really touch on this last part, but most of the stands, besides Star Platinum, in that last part, in part 4 and beyond, are named after songs, artists, or albums, like Killer Queen, Sheer Heart Attack, Crazy Diamond, Pink Floyd, Echoes, Pink Floyd, The Hand, The Band, Boy to Man, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all those things. If you read the part, you'll see, you'll be like, oh, that's a band. But yeah, part 5 follows the son of Jonah Giovanna in 1999 Italy, and it takes place over 7 days, which I think is pretty interesting. The shortest part by time span in the entire series. It's really cool. So it follows Jonah Giovanna, 15 years old. He wants to be a gangster, and here's the gang that he joins, Passione, headed by Bruno Bucciarati. There's Guido Mista, Panicato Fugo, Leona Bacchio, and Narancha Goga. I'm saying these in like weird accents. I don't know why. There's back Mista and Jonah. Mista's probably my favorite in the group. He looks cool. He has a cool stand, Sex Pistols. He's just cool. But yeah, so he joins a gang, and he wants to stop the widespread, the drug crisis in Italy. Because, all these drugs are being given to kids, and these kids are dying. and he became inspired by a gangster who like saved his life when he was a kid. Or no. He was inspired, so he saved a gangster's life, and that gangster began to protect him because he was like he never met his father. He had like abusive stepfather. His mother was very, kind of abandoned him. So like this gangster kind of like allowed him to have a safe and happier youth life. So he's like, you know what, I want to be a gangster, but I want to stop all this widespread crime. So he joins the gang, Bruno, Abacchio, all the guys, and they're like, all right, well, we gotta defeat the boss. And the boss, is revealed later to be Diavolo, blah, 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 whole thing, a lot of the gangsters in the gang attempt to stop him. There we see Fugo stand, Purple Haze, and then Abacchio stand. Moody Blues, Moody Jazz, no, Moody Blues. Moody Blues. Moody Jazz is the Americanized version. There's Narancia and his stand, Aerosmith. These stands are really cool. I think this group dynamic is probably my favorite. Yeah, I think this group dynamic is probably my favorite out of all the parts, I think. No, yeah, definitely. There's Trish Una, daughter of the boss. No way. There's Bruno. This is probably one of my favorite pieces of art. I have it in a more glossy and like high quality version in my art book. I'll go through that in a different video. But yeah, this is just a cool part. Like I said, only a span of 7 days. Here's some pretty cool artwork. There's King Crimson, the stand of Diablo the boss. One of the most powerful stands in the original universe, which I think is pretty neat. But yeah, this is just a cool part. It's just a gang's journey to defeat the evil boss of Passione in Italy. It's really cool. And towards the end, one of the most powerful stands in the entire series is revealed, being well, actually, I don't even know if it's on one of the covers. Here's Giorno again. On the back, you got Giorno made to look like a piece of like Roman artwork, I think. I don't know. It's something like that. Here's the final cover. Super freaking dope, dude. Fucking dope, dude. With Trish, Giorno, Bucciarati, Abacchio, Narancia, Mista. On the back, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But yeah, one of the most powerful stands in the entire series comes into fruition in this part, being Gold Experience Requiem, which is an ability that's only really touched on, or said by name at least, in this part, but there's been like theories where it's like some of the stands in part 7 or 8 are these Requiem-esque stands where it's like taken to another level. Like you see in part 5, Silver Chariot Requiem, which like switches the souls of people, and then Gold Experience Requiem where it's like Return to Zero. I never really was able to grasp that, but like when he finds Diavolo, he like punches him and then Diavolo just keeps dying. And it's like, you deserve that, which I think is pretty funny. Like I wouldn't say that, I think Diavolo is one of the least evil villains in the entire series, but he, his fate is to be killed a million times, or in infinity times, essentially. But yeah, Giorno's cool. He ends up becoming the gang leader of Passione. Part 5 is really cool, really underrated. Probably might be my 5th favorite part. I think it's really cool. This was wasn't the first series I watched, but I began to watch it like a few weeks after it had wrapped up, so I was able to catch it pretty early. But yeah, that's part 5, Golden Wind. Once again, has the cooler format of the hardcover. And finally, I only have one volume of this so far because it's only been released once, but part 6, Stone Ocean, Jolene Cujo, daughter of Jotaro Kujo on the back. Jolene and her stand, stone free. Jolene Cujo is in prison wrongfully. And the villain, Enrico Pucci, who is like the priest of the prison, he's the villain, and he's trying to like achieve or like find a way to get into heaven, like guaranteed. So he's like doing all these evil things, blah, 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 blah. It just came out on Netflix like a year and a half ago. I think they butchered the release of that, but it was really good. The ending is fantastic. Check it out if you haven't. But yeah, those are my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure hardcovers. Long-ass video. My longest video yet. Hope you enjoyed. I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Please watch it or read it if you haven't. All of it's on Netflix. The manga, you can find it at the library probably. You can find it at Barnes & Noble. You can find it anywhere. Manga Dex. Just please check it out. Let me know what you think. There's my poster of it. There's my poster of it, Jonathan and Dio. I love it. Check it out. Please. Let me know what you think. I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's fantastic. Hirohiko Araki, one of the best mangakas of all time. Goated series. My favorite series of all time. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.